Welcome to Allegedly Higher, where humor, insight, and passion collide with higher education. Hosted by Dr. Erin and Dr. Candice. Join them as they dive into headlines, interview leaders, and challenge norms. From dismantling systems to championing equity, this podcast is your go-to for transforming the ivory tower. Let's get into it.
Welcome to Allegedly Higher. I am your host, Dr. Erin, and it is a lovely Friday as we are recording. Hopefully everyone had a lovely Memorial Day weekend. Wasn't too hot, wasn't too rainy, but we actually kind of missed y'all. We a lot has happened in a week. I don't know if we can afford to take off a mini one because we couldn't figure out
a week.
So yeah, a lot of things have happened, and well, how was your holiday weekend? I think you did something fun.
Did I?
I think you did. Didn't you go see somebody graduate? Was that
I did. Feels like it was so long ago. And it's only been a week. Literally, it's only been a week. My grandson graduated from high school, so as an honor student, so we're all very excited. We were all very excited and happy about that. When you come from a big blended family, so the pictures tell it all. So we're all blended, and it was just a lovely day to be with family and watch him walk across that stage. Thank you, God. So we'll do it again in 4 years, hopefully. God willing, and the creek don't rise.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a Mississippi Southern thing to say. when you, I don't know if it will, but you know, when you got doubts,
God willing, and the creek don't rise, but
we don't want to say nothing negative, but that's what we say. Yeah,
that's a bless your heart.
Yeah, that's what I was going.
No, we were so happy. You know, when you watch, and then to have him walk as an honor student and to have his name called out, it was just amazing. You know, sacrifice.
Yeah.
Sacrifice. Financial, emotional, physical. All culminates when they walk across the stage. Yeah.
Well, I went to the beach and got sick.
How'd you go to the beach and get sick? What's going on?
As this show evolves, y'all will probably learn a whole lot about us. You already know Dr. Jackson's funeral plans. So you might as well know my medical history. I'm allergic to earth, every bush, tree, roach, cat, long-haired dogs, mites, dust, anything. Right. So I've come a long way. But I don't know what's happened, but the last like 3 hotel stays, I have to I hate to be that person that's nitpicky everything.
Yeah.
But I'm beginning to be allergic to like some hotel rooms. And I need to check to make sure pet friendly. I can't stay at a pet friendly hotel. Especially a pet friendly hotel if you don't change your air filters. So as soon as I laid, like the bed felt so good. As soon as I laid my head, my nose began to collapse on itself. Yes.
And you're such a good friend because even though you're allergic to cats, you could hang out with mine when I had one.
Barely. You know, I had, you know, my eye swole up just when I was just putting food in her bowl. I didn't even see her.
Oh my goodness.
Barely.
Oh yeah.
We survive.
Yeah, I think you probably cannot stay in pet friendly because they don't. I mean, it's someone who travels with a pup, my Shih Tzu, then I know I can tell you, no, they're not clean those ones.
That and then mold. The last time I stayed in a hotel, it was moldy. It was a nice hotel. I won't air them out here.
Right.
I might need them for a favor. But it was moldy, and I know the difference between when there's pet dander, when there's mold, when there's grass. I like my body knows the difference. It's very different reactions. All very
And
bad.
yet and let you go out into the and yet you go out into the elements with sand and.
But that's the one outside place where nature doesn't bother me. So I was good had I not had the reaction the night before.
Wow.
So I love the beach. There's no trees. The water moisturizes the sinuses. I'm good. I can breathe. I'm not itchy. There's no ants. Like there's nothing there for me.
You should have majored in oceanic sciences or something.
I don't like outside. I would have failed. That's why I play with the bacteria and the protein in the lab that had HEPA filters. And yeah, that's why I majored in microbiology and not anything herbology, horticulture. None of that was for me. Yeah, none of it.
Okay, just all of it. So, and I use biology, so that is my weakness. I just like it's all biology.
No, there's different. There's separators, just like English. English, there's different departments. There's different departments of biology.
I get it. Again, I know that there is this thing called mitosis, whatever, and my father was a biology major, and I could care less. It was just never something I could do. But I hate that for you. So, but you did get a chance to have some good times, right?
I did. I just need to pick the hotel better. I might try it again for my birthday.
Okay. All right. So here's to that. But so we did have eventful Memorial Day weekends. So I love it.
Along with turning in some proposals.
Listen, FYI, and this is not my rant. If your proposal, okay, never mind. I won't leave it. We'll cut that out. We'll edit it in post.
But we celebrated. We submitted.
We celebrate. We finished
a 45-page proposal to provide consulting services to a higher ed institution, and it was
And here's the thing: I just keep going back. I'm triggered. Things should be simple, but no skin. I love the process of putting it together because it forces us to kind of think about things and make it very streamlined.
Yeah. So that was the good thing that came out. So hopefully, if you're listening, we'll come to your school.
Yes.
Hopefully your vendor process and your bid process isn't too, grueling, but we will come to your school and provide very professional, not the kind of things we talk about on here, very professional coaching, consulting services in academic affairs and student affairs and student success.
We love code switching, and we will code switch for you. Yes.
We're going to be on best P's and Q's. P's and Q's. We promise. Yeah.
We promise.
We promise. If you refer, we will not embarrass you. That is our 100% guarantee.
No, we will not embarrass you. For real. Okay.
Well, let's get into these topics that has happened since we took a very short break, y'all. It feels like we didn't record for like 3 weeks. We had to really comb through topics to like narrow them down because it was so many things that happened.
Yes. So our first topic.
Let's start with another story that yet tears down my 90s babies bubble.
Yeah.
Down goes Bad Boy Records.
Down goes Bad Boy.
Down goes P. Diddy, Sean Combs, Puffy, Brother Love. We all knew it, but when some of us read the document that Cassie, she had a long document.
Right.
I believed her way back when, before the whole lawsuit came out. Reading through it, there was a part where she detailed out what happened on this video, and the video was released. Now, who did it? Do you know? Who you think did it?
No, I think so. The way it's coming out that he paid to have it held, and so because she detailed for them not to release it, probably should have told them to destroy it, but they didn't.
She put that in her lawsuit?
I think so. And so they subpoenaed and got the video. But the thing is, it's now after the statute of limitations on what happened in that video. But it does establish a pattern of behavior. And so when people go, oh my God, no, we've seen the pattern of behavior. But what we have done is made, even when he was doing making the band, we've seen glimpses of this pattern of behavior and this aggression, but we've counted it up to he's a meticulous businessman. This is who this is what we have excused the red flags, like sending, and of course nothing compares to this. But when we're talking about mentality and a culture of toxicity and abuse in leadership, we've seen it as early, even in those engagements, sending kids across the Brooklyn Bridge for cheesecake in the middle of the night. The way he talked to Laura Ann Gibson when she had made an executive decision, the way he talked to her knowing that the cameras were rolling. But her response was like, I'm not afraid of you, as if there are others who are, right? And so there was the tete-a-tete between them. So we've seen this sort of aggression, but to see it like this, yes, we believed her. We wholeheartedly believed her.
Yeah. So just in case some people listening to this is under a rock. By the way, we have international listeners.
Oh, wonderful!
Who may not care what's going on in the great state of America. So if you were under a rock or you stayed off of Instagram, and you couldn't miss this because CNN had broke the story. They's now getting in the trenches with this. So Cassie was the ex-partner of Sean P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, Brother Love Combs. Sued him for a whole host of tragic things that happened during their time together. CNN released a video from the hotels that shows Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, Sean Puffy Combs.
Right. In a towel.
Towel. She's running away from him. He drags her. He mollywops her on the floor, drags her, kicks her, throws glass vases in the hallway. All this is happening in a public place, in a public hotel, by the elevator.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is released. So the people who doubted her story or anything, I guess seeing is believing.
Mm-hmm.
And she actually released a statement that said that, what you saw really happened. That I'm still healing, but I really want people to believe survivors when they say they've been abused, which I thought was a very powerful statement coming from her.
It really is. We have so many, we've had so many instances where the women are not believed, or the behavior is or excused, or I've even heard, well, what did she do? So it's what could she have done to make this, to deserve that? Nothing, right? And if you look at it, she's trying to get to the elevator. She has grabbed her shoes and a bag. And when he realizes it, and he comes running down in that towel, and you all have to see like the towel that held up the world, right? And she's trying to get her shoes on, to be as quiet as possible. And it reminded me so much of how Tina Turner escapes Ike, and running across the freeway, which if you watch What's Love Got to Do with It in the movie really did happen. She took off, and that's all she had. With a purse with no money in it. Okay.
Yeah.
And so that's what it reminded me of. She's trying to tiptoe out of there, to get out of there, get to the elevator. Somebody asked me, well, why did she just take the stairs? In her mind, the elevator's faster. I got to get to the elevator. And who knows where the stairs are at the hotel? Who's ever figured out where the stairs are, right? And so it was just so painful to watch. And then that little apology, non-apology. So
he took it back a few days later. He is just
he's done.
So to bring this back to the intersection of higher ed and pop culture, this expose. Now I've heard he's told bits and pieces of this. So throughout the week, I've been, digesting from my trusted sources. And one thing that I learned from the Breakfast Club was that on an old interview, they pulled footage where he told people that he got his name Puffy because when he was little, he was always huffing and puffing mad.
I remember that.
Strike one. Two, he told this story in a very narcissistic point of view. Years ago, I remember him saying that he was like, I've always been I think Charlamagne might have asked him, like, who hurt you? Who was your first heartache? And he told the story about when he was at Howard University, right? This is years ago, before we even got to this point. He told the story. He's at Howard University, a girl he was so in love with. I don't know what happened. They broke up. But he said, I was so heartbroken. I knew she was leaving to go home for the semester or the summer, that he ran to the subway station to catch her. And he said it was one of those movie moments where he was pounding on the door, come back, come talk to me. Fast forward to 2024 in this Rolling Stone expose that came out a few days ago. He was beating some woman, a girlfriend that he had at Howard University. He was beating her in the courtyard, so much so that the people from the rest halls looked down and was screaming for him to stop. At the Howard University.
I'm
not saying it's two different people. He was only there for 2 years. How can you have this much heartbreak and multiple women in 2 years? And his classmates said that they regularly saw him beating in public, didn't care.
The fact that he has been a master manipulator for the last 30 years. And as more comes out and becomes public, you have more insiders telling some stories that would have never made the Rolling Stones interview. But here's my other question. Y'all watched this and you said nothing? You did nothing?
I think his college peers probably did way more than his professional colleagues did.
Right. And that's problematic.
I covered up the bruises on Cassie's face. I saw and heard the abuse. The bodyguard said, she actually admitted in the papers that the bodyguard kept telling her to leave and she wouldn't listen. So I'll take him out of the equation. But everybody else, they got people from Bad Boy, Shakir Stewart. That's two different people. I'm thinking about another person in the industry. He said Puffy, knocked him over the head with a chair. And you got people Wale off the balcony blowing, you got all of these things. Some of it could be lies. At this point, I don't think they are.
So he think he Big Red from the 5 Heartbeats? No.
And so now we got to relook at the whole Tupac and Biggie thing. I think in the expose said that Biggie wanted to leave Bad Boy. Well, Biggie wanted to leave. I don't know. It wasn't. Was it Bad Boy then?
Biggie wanted to leave after that second album, right? And so one of the bodyguards, this has been a couple of years ago, said that in a rant, Puffy said, no one is going to stop me. and anybody can die. And he mentioned Biggie by name, and everybody was like, "Whoa!" But here's, when people show you who they are, believe them.
Yep.
I wonder now, after all of this, how do y'all? I mean, how do you process that? How do you process that kind of toxicity? And when we talk about higher ed leadership, again, we have both been in situations where we watch someone be berated, constantly abused. What's the other B? What berated?
We always forget
berated and belittled, right? Yeah. And I tell people what we had gotten to the point, what I had gotten to the point was in meetings, I would just be like this. Or I'm writing at the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable. And I say, oh Lord, my strength, my redeemer. I mean, I've got pages of a journal where I just keep writing it and keep writing it. Getting very close to God, I can't do this. If he says one more thing today, that's it, I'm done. And that means that you want me to leave. And so how do you, when you are around someone, even if you're not the immediate target of that kind of behavior, how does it does affect you? Yeah. So just because you're not the target at the time doesn't mean that it's not coming your way, because it always comes your way. It always comes your way.
And they all, I think, and it's just a string of people, and they're all interconnected. Right. The Caucasian white woman was supposed to be an intern at, I can't remember, like this spanned so long, I don't know if it was at the Motown or Bad Boy days. Mm-hmm. Said that he got her, he was all nice. Oh yeah, come meet me here and let's have drinks. She wanted to get in the entertainment industry. Oh yeah, you can be an intern, I'll get you in. Sweet talked her, she fell for it. Propositioned her, put her job on the line. Like, if you don't do this to me, your job is gone.
Right.
And then the story brings in Kim Porter at the same, like, it's always an audience of shame and torture and abuse. It's always interconnected. And that's that part for me. Every time you hear a story, it's always, there's a chain of women. It's always one out, one in. Link them together, they both in. One goes out, bring another one in. Bring a lot of people in. So everybody is connected.
Right. And that's what you mentioned, Motown. I think you meant Uptown.
Uptown.
Yeah. Don't want to get sued. So
don't want to ruin that legacy.
No, they got their own issues. But it's methodical in how to do in doing that, right? So even adopting or changing the name of someone else's son, like, I'm sure it is so the narcissism that we have normalized for him. Like the boy does well, but they kept all these secrets, and now they're feeling so confident about, okay, well, there can't be any retaliation because he's done. How long would this have lasted had she not gotten the strength and the love to be able to heal, to try to do this, right? Because she's moved on in terms of she's married, she has children, Cassie. I mean,
but she's still healing.
So, and she's still healing, and to have to deal with that in a relationship, and you're raising daughters, and now everybody thought Jack Wright was crazy. They're going back looking at some of her stuff because she was there. And so now the question is, and of course we all thought, okay, well, maybe she knows something, but everyone at Uptown, with the exception of Al B. Sure, who almost died, is gone.
Yeah.
And Kim Porter was the receptionist. all of that. Just it's gonna, if we start peeling back those layers, and I hope they do, that this is it. But who I feel, not only do I feel bad for Cassie, I feel bad for the twins. I feel bad for Chance. I feel bad for any of his children. I feel bad for the ones he left there to do the perp walk when he knew they were raiding. And so, you give some narcissistic apology off under a cabana because you're not coming back. He's not coming back ever. Nah. If he does, he's about to Roman Polanski. He's Roman Polanski said, "Oh no, you convict me. I'm just gonna go to France. I'm not coming back."
Yeah.
And so, if he comes back, he's probably going to jail.
I don't even think I don't know. I don't know if he was gonna be so bold to stay here and believe that he still got a chance, or he's gonna run like a coward, like most narcissists do, and escape.
He's gonna run which is what he has done. Which is what he's done.
He's not in the States. He didn't come back. He's still with Russell.
I think they got magical power. I think he is. I think he's still gone because.
But they serve Russell papers in Bali. They can wherever he is.
Yeah, they just.
I hope it is the extradition country.
They make him come back, especially if he went somewhere where there's no extradition.
Yeah.
But he might as well liquidate at this point. But I don't see there ever being a moment unless he has affidavits within 20 years, 25 years from a priest, a Baptist minister from the South, 3 certified therapists, and a little prison time. I don't think anybody will bring him. They will embrace R. Kelly before they embrace Puffy at this point.
Well, what are we embracing though? Let's be real. What are we embracing? He not really an artist. Everybody else that some background and some of him and wrote and produced. Mm-hmm. We realized Chirac, as Keith Sweat says, Chirac wasn't really his.
Right.
Sean John is no longer. No. King Combs is barely a rapper. What are we?
And if anybody ever needed to wear a no bitch assness t-shirt, it is him. Okay, well, go ahead.
I know. Yes.
But you're right. What are we embracing?
What are we coming back to? Your artists were the best thing that happened to you. If your artists weren't as good, you were great at picking talent and picking them apart. What are we really coming to? We still listen to old Biggie, for them, not for you. I would still listen to them because we need to pay the victims. You need some money for them. Right. But technically, what are we really going to embrace? I wasn't really, I don't know. That's me personally. There was nothing for me to hang on to or anything.
But whatever it is, whatever comeback he is plotting, you might as well put it on the shelf. People will have to be 20, 30 years out. They're not. He's done.
Yeah, he's gonna have to have holding after shell corporations for people to do business with him again. Mm-hmm. Revolt is suffering,
but the narcissist will not allow him to do that.
Yeah,
the narcissist will have to then go, aha. I can do all of that and play that game, but he won't be able to have a business that doesn't have his name attached and let you know. He's not going to be able to do that.
Mm-mm. No, because he can't sit back without being all in the videos. All
he can't.
Like Ben told us.
No, he can't. They will get R. Kelly out. And then, because he's
He's actually talented. Yeah, we're gonna be tempted to listen to our album.
Because what I often hear, even about the aura, is that sometimes the parents should have had some conversations with as well with law enforcement. You gave your children, but that's neither here nor there. But I do feel bad for Puff's kids, because even the intimation that he might have had something to do with their mother's demise, even in rumor and conjecture, is still painful to even process.
Yeah.
Because she was about to write a book, and yeah.
No, go ahead. I'm thinking. So Kim, I have to keep the kids together. Kim had the twins.
Mm-hmm. So
Kim had the oldest, Quincy, but that's not Diddy's. That's
right. That's Albie Shore's.
Gotcha.
He's Albie Shore's son. So he had Justin with Misa Hilton. She had Quincy with Albie Shore. Then they had Christian.
That's King. He go by King Kong.
Oh, he's King Kong. I mean, he's gonna be Christian.
That's why I said he's barely a rapper, but
I guarantee Christian Porter will be his new name. Christian Porter. Go back.
But he's exhibiting signs of a Diddy. He has the sexual assault case against him too now.
He gonna be Christian Porter, and he better, somebody who loves him better get him. Janice, you better get your grandbaby. Get him together. And then he was supposed to be with Kim Porter. He had Chance with someone else, and then they had the twins at the same time.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And he's a love bomber as well. So all of the classic narcissists, he's not going to be able to have a shell upon a shell upon a shell, because it has to be him. And then yes, but if King is exhibiting some of these same signs, the people around him now who love him and love him dearly, get him into the therapy that he needs to treat his narcissistic disorder, because it's inherited.
Yeah, clearly. And it could just be it just could be his privilege at this point that'll escalate.
Yeah. But that privilege is going to wane quickly.
Yeah. Well, we'll wait for my guy 50 Curtis Jackson. That is the pettiest. And I think I want to segue into something petty and on business. 50 is about to has sold Netflix the Who Did It documentary. Did he do it documentary?
Do it. I mean, the play on it is just.
This is how you get people back. This is how you get people back with a very sharp sword.
Ungreased. Jagged edge, rather. A jagged edge sword. Ungreased. Yes.
Death by 1,000 cuts. So I will definitely renew my Netflix subscription for Did He Do It? It is going to be bigger than the R. Kelly documentary.
Oh my, yeah.
Because I might as well talk up the rights to get the surviving Trey songs too while we at it.
Listen, with 50, with the clip of him talking about Diddy trying to take him shopping, it's
yeah.
It's lovely.
Yeah. Speaking of professional and petty, pray for America and our government leaders and congressmen, because it was an S show brought to you that started by Marjorie Taylor Greene and Sarah Chessman Crockett.
I love her. Let's see.
They always have arguments, but this is the argument of all arguments.
So Marjorie Taylor Greene, is disputing something in congressional committee and makes an attack, a personal attack about Jasmine Crockett's lashes.
Because she have nowhere to go. She knows she didn't read them documents.
No. An ad hominem attack on lashes, and Jasmine Crockett, who clearly took her English classes and her world literature and her literary studies classes seriously, in the best form of alliteration clapback I've ever heard. That's a bleach blonde, bad built beach body.
It's very clear, and alliteration was there. But I want to point out, as the future business leaders of America, state number 2 person in Robert's Rule of Order, she used her point of order like I've never seen it used before. She never did insult Marjorie Taylor Greene. It was totally rhetorical, hypothetical, just to point out decorum, and she stood on her point of order. Like, she didn't insult her. She did not insult her. She tiptoed over the line. She didn't say anything about her. She raised the point of order. I think she needs to go down the Robert's Rule of Order history. I don't know if they need to revise it. I don't even know what revision they're on at this point. But that has to be an example of how you raise a point of order and decorum.
So listen,
it was so clean.
There are already t-shirts. There were t-shirts an hour later.
Yeah.
All over. People were making t-shirts.
And she bought the rights.
The clapback. Like I love it. And the fact that you have someone in Congress, and I'm talking about the bleach blonde, you have someone in Congress who would make such an attack and make it personal because you have nothing else. And you make it about some lashes.
And then she immediately fell into Karen Taylor Greene. What is
right?
She didn't say nothing about you, lady. She only said a hypothetical question to raise a point of order.
If I said, if someone were called, I mean, we have got to get back to. I just had this conversation yesterday, actually, that we have got to get away from bully culture. And particularly when you have this kind of viral moment that of course we love, but it's the reason that we're having this issue with our presidential candidates, because one candidate is a bully, and for some reason we have that's the culture that we have. That's the culture that we support, the bully culture.
Yeah. And it's very telling when, and I hate that this came out like that, because she's very, like, when I say articulate, I don't mean like, oh, she's a Black woman, she can talk articulate. I mean, very politically sound, very sound. That lawyer is refined in her, the political side. Like, when she talks about, and she gets you. If y'all go back and search Project 2025 congressional hearing, or you go back and you look at the clip of what she's talking about SNAP and making sure families eat, when she does that, this is not a one-off from her. It's funny, it just shows her personality. But when she talks and stands on business of helping people and making sure the other side, the Republicans, are called to task about the stuff they say that don't make sense.
Right.
She's one of the few people that can have them shuffling papers and have them backed into a corner, because they can't one sentence their way. We love America. That they can't just throw out those things real quickly.
Yeah.
Because she's gonna call them on, and they don't have anything to stand on because they know they don't want to say the real answer for things because they know. I mean, at this point, just go ahead and say it. Just go ahead and say we don't want black and brown people. We don't really even like poor people of any color. Just go ahead and say it. Just go ahead and say what you're gonna say. Don't hide behind the shenanigans of like, don't hide behind it at this point. But I hope this leads people back to her of how she handles herself in other congressional hearings when it comes to real business. But her and Marjorie always go back and forth. This isn't like that. That was just one that made it. That was the funniest. But she always would tag that every.
Oh, and I love it. I mean, and all of the clapbacks with her, she's good at them. But you can do a clapback because she didn't say anything about her personally. She's arguing a point of law. She's arguing the point of what they should be doing. And when you come at me personally, oh, the clapback is going to be real. But because you have nothing else, Marjorie Taylor Greene, you have nothing else to offer to the conversation, and somehow you got promoted from the kiddie table to the big table, but you don't have anything to offer. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what you have to do.
That's what bullies do. And most bullies aren't smart.
No. Okay.
Most bullies are IEP.
As they follow the head bully, right? Who are not smart at all. They think they are, but what they're banking on is that they're smarter than other people.
Yeah, but your time gonna come. The time always.
Oh my goodness! And won't it come? It will come.
Yeah, 45 charges. 45 charges later.
He was convicted on 34 of this particular trial yesterday.
Okay.
So there's some other. That was just in the city.
He got 60 more charges in the queue.
Right. And of course, he's already said it was biased and all of that. The paperwork is very clear. The witnesses are very clear. That you committed felonies, sir.
It's just so. It's so crazy how when certain people, hue, stature, are in the legal system and they're charged, it doesn't work. But when we've been standing on business day, the system is broken against black and brown and poor folk.
Right.
Well, it works. But it make sense to us.
It's not.
It fails y'all, but it's fair to us.
It's not going to make sense because it doesn't make sense, right? This country is based on a foundation of being a bully.
Until they admit that, we ain't gonna.
Until they admit that, nothing will change. No. Nothing will change, and they can tell themselves, "Oh no, it's not real." Like the system works. No, it doesn't. Because the system is made up of people. You can put the policies in place. You know, we always bring it all back to higher ed. You can put in any organization or corporation, you can put the policies in place, but it's the practice of the policies and the interpretation by people of the policies that makes it either work or not.
Yep.
We have the spirit of the law. You got the letter of the law. And just frankly, what we do for one, we do not do for all.
Not at all. Not at all.
So they will.
You're not gonna see no jail time.
No. And had the Senate done what they were supposed to do, we would not be in the situation that we're in. So what happens if he's actually sentenced to jail time? He's supposed to run the country from the pen?
Because the Constitution doesn't have any. You just got to be 35 and an American. But if you got one felony, you can't vote. but you got a felony and you can run for president. I
He won't be
don't.
able to run for himself. He won't be able to vote for himself.
So when you and Melania go and you hand your ballot and you smile for the camera, are you committing fraud, sir? Because you just locked up this lady for 7 years in Texas to make it seem like everybody's fraud in the system. She just got out.
Wow.
And she just voted provisionally, wasn't even counted, and she got time. So, sir, are you going to do your inaugural, I'm casting my vote, I know who I'm voting for?
Right, no. Because you're going to jail. I want you to go to jail.
Yeah.
And at some point, and so then it'll be, well, the prosecutor is biased. The prosecutor is a Democrat. The prosecutor followed the letter of law, the law. You broke the law.
Yeah.
You broke the law.
Yeah. Many
and
times.
That is in New York, and that is in Georgia. Yeah. And even in Georgia, you tried to come after that girl's personal life.
Yeah. Yeah.
You couldn't attack the law. You went after her personal life. Come on.
I have mixed emotions.
That's all they have.
Yeah, I got mixed emotions. We might can cover that as we figure out what's going to happen, but I got mixed emotions. We were all rooting for you. Speaking of rich white folk.
Yes.
I just want to know when the fume gonna be, and who paying for it? Because
you're gonna be underwater.
The
Ohio billionaire.
Yeah. An Ohio billionaire is planning another trip in a little tiny submarine. Somebody said they're gonna use an Xbox controller this time. He's planning another submarine adventure to see the Titanic. Their obsession with this, I do not know. Planning another to prove that the oceans, but maybe powerful thing, people need to see it. No, I don't, sir. I don't need to see it. I don't. I sit at the edge of the beach, let the tides wash over me. When it slaps me in the face, I'm going back to sit in the sand in my chair, sir.
Right. Which is why I don't do water. So, you asked about the fascination. I think the fascination is that here's this monumental testament to opulence and affluence and what man can do and what
capitalism
and all of that, and it hit one little piece of ice, and it was it. They're trying to figure out how not. They're fascinated by the Titanic because it failed. It was too big to fail, and it failed. And they're trying to figure out, it's kind of like trying to keep doing an autopsy to figure out what went wrong. So I don't do that. But the problem is, you're going to do that.
We figured it out. There's cruise ships twice as big. You won't pay me. You can't pay me to get on that new ship. I'm like, y'all ain't learned from the Titanic? That new biggest ship in the world, cruise ship? No, ma'am, no, sir, no ham. I'm not getting on it. We figured it out. Now, I dare you to go to the ships where the slaves drown themselves.
Find those.
Go visit them spirits. Because the 1,500 people lost at the Titanic sick of y'all. Sick.
They sick of them.
Sick of them. Leave us alone. Y'all got a movie. Y'all can sit all the time. No. Leave us alone.
Look, there is no room on the raft. They are tired of y'all. They are tired of y'all. They're tired of y'all. You're right. But I think it's also this. the fascination of, and listen, let's be honest, this is not about wreckage. This is about trying to find money and gold and artifacts.
That, and then you're bored. I forgot who I was listening to. They was like, listen, Black people live in suspense every day. We hold our breath if a cop car is coming. We don't know if the police go knock down our door in a botch warrant and shoot the wrong person. Like we live a very suspenseful life. We don't need to go and have no other thrills on whitewater rafting, no submarine. We got enough suspense and surprise to last us a lifetime. Are they gonna pay these student loans off? Like it's suspenseful. We got enough to deal with. It is the boredom of rich folk, not just comfortable wealth. We talking about insanely rich people who are bored with life. They have flown everywhere. They've done everything. They've eaten everything. They have bragged till they can't brag no more because all their friends have done it. They are bored.
Oh, now I'm gonna go to the Titanic.
Hopefully your insurance gonna pay to find the wreckage, and you have your private rescue teams waiting. Do not tie up our Coast Guard or nobody else's Coast Guard for this.
Right. But America, if you didn't find something to do with your money, call people who need money. They will help you find you something, a check to write for your money. I just would find something to do with your money.
Yeah, it's simple.
Come on, man.
Come on, man. The words of Boosie. Come on now, man.
Shout out to Boosie. Come on, man. I mean, it's a gross use of it's horrible.
Yeah.
It's like you said. I mean, what else? Cameron has done a documentary trying to go find the Titanic. They've got it all. What are you looking for? You didn't know anybody on there. The bones are not there. Like, what could you possibly be looking for at this point? You gonna do a water park? Is it gonna be a water park? Like, what possible? I mean, I can give you 100 and now 5 4 HBCUs that can take whatever you're gonna spend, and they could split it, and they will make their budget for the year.
Yep.
Do something useful with your money and your time, and that's just something we have to think about in real life. Do something useful with your money and your time.
And maybe he got so much of it, he thought he already gave enough of it. I don't know.
This is a suicide trip. But go ahead.
Okay. Rest in peace ahead of time, in advance.
Right. I mean, yeah. Okay.
All right. So let's get to some higher ed news. We had a lot of we did talk higher ed all throughout there, but some real
all of it. Okay.
Direct higher ed news. Let's see how much time we want to spend on each, because they're pretty heavy. We might save one for later. Okay. Who you want to go with? What you want to go with? You want to go with higher ed, the presidential in Congress, or you want to go with the heavy hitter UNC Chapel Hill?
I gotta hit the Chapel Hill one. I gotta hit that one.
All right,
fellow Tar Heel here. Yeah, I'm a fellow Tar Heel, and I'm hurt. I'm disgusted. I'm not surprised.
Yeah, she sent me the sad face emoji when I sent her this article. So let's update the people.
So, they had this whole DEI policy, diversity, equity, and inclusion policy. And of course, it's in the wake of, right? Well, let me back up. So my time, North Carolina has a lot of Eastern Seaboard influences. So it is, but it is still the South. Okay, it's still the South. Beautiful, but it's still the South. Culturally significant. There's always something to do. They're very intellectual.
They the place where the slaves hadn't.
Yeah.
Literally set their foot.
Exactly. So, and it is interesting because North Carolina typically votes Democrat when it comes to their local politics because they're focusing on education. So they vote Democrat. But federally, they're very much a red state. And for them to have a DEI policy, now they're going to repeal it. And let's see, as it says, they're pulling back on those diversity initiatives. And if you look at the stats, they weren't that diverse to begin with.
And that's the thing. I need to go back to our Chronicle Higher Ed DEI tracker. I don't think North Carolina was one of the states that had a state repeal of it. They're doing this all on their own.
Right. So that means that all those people that took DEI positions, those positions are now being eliminated. Those scholarships are being rescinded, redistributed, refunded. And so, of course, this is from the system office. And so the system is, and this is affecting 17 campuses. There's 17 campuses in the UNC system.
The policy is only 5 years old.
So again, with all of that goodwill and guilt after George Floyd is now over.
Was it? I was trying to calculate that. You think it came before or after George? Because George was in 2020, right?
Yeah, that was 2020. But I think whatever it was pushed it over. When they say nearly 5 years, they're trying not to associate it with the guilt of George Floyd because 2024 is almost over. Right. So when they say nearly 5 years, they really mean 4, and they really mean after.
I got you. I was like, it's so new. Like y'all just couldn't stomach it for another year.
That's the nearly. That's the nearly. That's the George Floyd. Oh, I'm so sorry. We had no idea. Because understand this, and even as a student, we knew this, that the descendants of the slaves, some members of the custodial staff were the descendants of the slaves that built North Carolina. And when you process that, even in the early aughts, in the late 90s and the early aughts, it processed that these are the descendants, and you think about those many, that time period, it's not that far, and yet it is. And so here, that nearly 5, what that means is that's George Floyd. But we don't really want you all to realize that we are not, we want to get rid of it because the guilt is over. The guilt is over. Yeah. It's the same thing they did after the Civil Rights Movement. My parents' generation, after the Civil Rights Movement, were the recipients of all of the goodwill and free grad school, go to college, hear all the things, and because we want to make this right. And then after a generation of it, they were like, okay, yeah,
that's
but
enough.
your children, but your children now. So this is the sort of thing that we have to worry about as we're sending our children out into the world, because we're really not having the hard conversations about race. That's why they were so appalled and so up in arms when George Floyd protests was happening, because we had not had those conversations. And so we keep privileging these institutions who are making policy. I hope this doesn't sound like my rant, who are making policies that say we don't want your kids here unless they can do one of two things. They can either run the ball or they can shoot the ball. And maybe if we want them to have a really good band, right? So that's kind of, we have to pay attention to where we're sending our funds and our resources and our most valuable resources, our children, to these institutions that are making it very clear, not just in practice, but in policy, and into states where they may be for 4, 5, and 6 years. You're going to send them to a state that would allow this. Why? And so then we go, well, we didn't know it was a free ride. Nothing is free.
Nope. So my question, there was a quote in the article, the original article. If you want to read this, well, it came from a couple of places. I think I got some from AP News and of course local North Carolina news. The provost had to cut $1 million. Now I'm on the fence with this. You know, they do DEI initiatives and DEI stuff, but only give you a little tinge of money. $1 million might sound like a lot to a small school, but for UNC, he might have been a Chapel Hill provost. Had to cut $1 million. That's not a lot.
No, it's not.
It's not a lot at all. It sounds like a lot when the board says we're pushing forth $1 million, $1 million budget for our DEI. That's not a lot. That's you're gonna have to pay a chief diversity officer at least $200,000.
Right. That's salary. That's not even benefits.
Okay. Yeah, at least 2 people with $175,000, an associate and assistant provost, because it's a huge campus. And then you're going to have to actually pay for some initiatives, some program. I done spent $1 million, right? We done.
Spent $1 million on salaries. So even when I was there, long time ago, the excess of funds that did not have to be spent on stuff like making sure at every home game, every seat in the stadium had pom-poms when you got there. What? HBCUs, you get one pom-pom your freshman year, you better hold on to joker for dear life. You are not getting another pom-pom. So you're talking about, but this is at every home game. It's stuff like that. It's stuff like, you may have, you got one person doing one thing. Whereas an HBCU, you got one person maybe doing 2 or 3 jobs. And they just want a little extra money, right? They're not making half of what the salaries are. But for you to cut, and that's where you go to cut, that shows if you're cutting DEI and you have not fully funded it anyway, to actually make it work, because you just want a little bit of sprinkling, but you don't really want it to, you want some blackness, but you don't want blackness. You don't want the double. You don't want the you know what I'm saying? So if that's the first place you cut, you're demonstrating how you feel about it. But $1 million is salary alone.
Basically.
That's just salary.
So
that means
this extra funding is going to student success initiatives. That's so funny to me, because through my research of Tinto and Bean, and I'm trying to throw some other research, higher ed research out there.
Right.
In order for a student to succeed, they have to feel a connection to your institution.
Right.
In order for them to stay, they have to have a community that they share something in common. Mm-hmm. They also have to have to some preparation areas or things where they need help in.
Mm-hmm.
They have to be included. They have to have support in areas where they're weak equity, and they have to feel connected, and everybody feels connected in a different way, which is diversity. Mm-hmm. We can't run from this. This is insane to me, of people who are working have to now spend hours in a retreat rewriting some my rant, rewriting something to just if I was working, I'd be like, ma'am, sir, We don't need this meeting. Give me the document of the policy. Let me go alt control. No, I'm sorry. Let me go find and replace DEI with student success. We're doing the you can't outrun this. If you want to have students retain, if you want to keep money, if you want to you got to do this work anyway. So whether you take it out, change the name, change the color, change the stripes, change your offices, move people around, say you're not doing it. If you don't do any of this stuff, I want to see retention numbers at the end of the year. Not the aggregated. I need the disaggregated. I need you to show me the Black male athletes who are retained. I need you to show me the single parents of any color retained. I need you to show me the rural students. I need you to show me the low income students, the first gen. I need you to show me the intersection of first gen, low income, and minority students. I need you to show me all those retention numbers. Don't lie about it. Don't cover it up. I want to see them. Because that's what's going to happen. They're going to say, they're going to, this next strategic plan or report, the university, they're going to lie and tout that we've been the best we've ever been and everybody feels included and belonged.
And here's what it reminds me of. When state of Tennessee pulled in Glenda Glover during her presidency of Tennessee State to ask her about, she's having such this resurgence in enrollment, and UT Knoxville is not. She's, basically asked them, you weren't concerned when Tennessee State enrollment was down, because now Knoxville's Black population down. But I have had people apply for jobs there and visit that campus. They did not feel welcome. And the Knoxville campus. So, but you want them there, but you don't want to make them feel as if they're home. What we have to understand is that students, this is where they live. We work in our offices and we get to go to our homes and our places of safety and our soft spaces, but they actually live on the campus. So if you are not giving them a sense of community, then what are you doing? They have no, they're not going to stay there. Their retention, as you said, your retention numbers are going to go down. So this little boy that I love, who just graduated from high school, says he wants to go to this school, and I'm looking at the stats because I do this every day. Shout out to my family if they're ever listening. I do this every day. So I'm looking at the numbers. And in 2014, if I'm looking at your last fact book, and it says you only had 22 students, Black students, in your freshman cohort. 22. Out of, maybe 2,500. 22?
And
only 7 of the 22 graduated.
I was about to say 6 was going to be retained, but I underestimate. You said 7 graduated. So that meant
6 years later.
10, 6 years later. So that means either 0 to 4 graduated in 4 years.
Right.
And you probably retained 10, if I'm doing the maths correctly.
Right. Maybe. But only 7 graduated for the numbers. So how
many of those 7 are Black male athletes?
Girl, they would never pull that out.
Or
but I will say
Black male athletes.
Probably out of that 22, I'm gonna just professionally estimate that at maybe 15 for that freshman year. 15 out of 22.
I'll throw in a black female basketball.
Right. because when I look at their opening video about, we love it here, the only Black student that they have is wearing a jersey. And so that is problematic to me.
Nobody saw that as an issue.
Nobody saw that as an issue. You didn't put him in a shirt, you put him in a jersey.
You didn't put him in a lab.
Nope,
you didn't put him on the camera.
You had him come to either the student center or the library, but you still had him in a jersey, but everyone else is in academic settings and they look like college students that don't have like the job of the institution to play football. And so we've got to be much more diligent about where we are sending our children in these spaces where, like North Carolina, and I love Chapel Hill. I am a Tar Heel, but I also know where that is. I know Carolina. You remember Michael Jordan had asked, get into politics. He was like, Republicans buy sneakers too. Like you have to know where you are. But you can't retain students if they don't have a sense of community. And it's not just race. And I think that's the other issue that people are thinking about. It's not just race.
Not just race.
And when they get out in the world and they have to deal with supervisors or colleagues or coworkers, and we have not trained them to live in a diverse space, they're not going to fare well at all.
Again, I asked if these universities are ever embarrassed when a Karen or a Ken Black Twittered and posted where they worked and where they went to school after a racial incident. Like, aren't you embarrassed? Aren't you, like, when your whole she went here and graduated here? Mm-hmm. I would be embarrassed if that was my school. I'd be like, Lord, who are we sending out to the world embarrasses like this? They ain't got no job.
That presupposes that they would be embarrassed, or that they didn't also think that person was right, at least behind the closed doors. They're not embarrassed.
I would be mortified if I saw.
Oh yeah, because again, Black folk in higher ed, don't you? We play those. We are the mamas when they get there. Don't you go out there and embarrass me. And it doesn't matter if they are freshmen, first year students, however you want to say it, or they've been out of school 20 years and on faculty with you. Now, I taught you better. Because we don't, no ma'am. I was in a meeting with a former student who happened to actually be older than me. And she was my former student, and I love her dearly. And they were asking her to do something that I just, for a student, like open up time, let them just come sit in your office and make up some of their hours lies. I said, I taught you better than that. No, you will not. Because we always are in that mentoring space. These people who do this and go out there and have racial incident, they've been mentored in that space. There is no recrimination. There is no embarrassment. Because they've had the jokes. They've heard them all. They've done them all. Because these are the people who create videos with the one Black student in a jersey.
Yeah.
That's who they are. And we have to accept it. But I'll tell you what I don't have to accept is sending my child to this space.
Yeah.
And once that happens, once Knoxville has to contend with, you have not created a sense of community. And these kids can just go to Tennessee State where they're loved and they have a sense of community. And they have various communities. Because even on HBCU campuses, you have to have diversity, equity, and inclusion. You have to have conversations.
Can't escape it. You can't escape it anywhere.
You have to be mindful of ADA. You have to be mindful of same-sex relationships. You have to be mindful of all of that. There's diversity does not just mean race. And that's where I think their sheets are showing when they make these policies.
So what kind of made me sad when I was reading this, one of the things that made me sad, there were a lot of students protesting this. Now I have notes and I need to go back and look. I know the students are protesting this heavy. And public feedback shows significant opposition. In my notes, I have 250 comments. I don't know where that falls in terms of like when boards put out things for public comments, if that's a lot or a little. But I do believe a lot of the minority students who were going there, I did read that a lot of minority students going there were the ones who were actively protesting and had voiced comments over their opposition of them repealing this. And it was very sad.
Until the federal government and the Department of Education makes this a mandatory, part of your federal funding that you create diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, and that is not about who's in charge of the presidency, unless it becomes as standard and mandated, it's not going to change. Yeah. Because if you are considered in a diverse population, right? And we're not talking about, whatever your population is or your sense of community, we don't allow ourselves to really investigate how this student has taken their crimes against certain people, certain groups, if we don't start looking at those clery reports, if we don't start thinking about this, and why am I attending an institution or sending my child to an institution that does not see them as a whole person? And if the Department of Education does not make it a federal mandate that every institution, if you are to receive any federal funding or federal grants, love you STEM people, but your federal grants, that you don't have some kind of diversity on your campus, then it's not going to happen. It's not.
Are you saying besides the STEM?
For all of it. You can't, you should not. So I don't
think like STEM probably, I don't know how all of this is going to affect it. I feel like STEM is probably the only place you can find big money attached to diversity because it comes from federal dollars.
Right. But if you don't have any kind of diversity plan, just like, okay, so if accrediting bodies require a mission, a vision, goals, objectives, strategic vision, plans, all of that, where's your diversity plan?
And I have mixed feelings on that because I've seen very great diversity plans and I've seen the STEM money. Yeah, I've seen the STEM money and I know they got grants for people who look like me to go practice in STEM. But when I get into the lab, it's cold. And I'm not talking about the AC cold.
Right. And I
still have a problem with that.
If Saxon come on your campus and ask you about your Title IX policy and they're not there for that, and they might be there for a nursing program, but they ask you about that, they have it for real.
Gotcha.
Even though I told them that's what they were gonna look for, but nobody believed me. So, but yeah, what do I know? Then NIH and all those federal funding agencies should say, where is your DEI person? How do we make sure that this STEM money, right, is also promoting and allowing students and faculty of color to pursue, right? So if you don't have the federal mandate of that, then states are going to do states' rights. Where have we heard this before? This is where it comes down to, we're going to change the textbook, and slavery wasn't slavery. It was involuntary servitude. Say what? We're allowing the states
had benefits. It was first benefits to being a slave. Did you
right.
know that?
Florida said benefits. Texas is saying it's involuntary servitude. So you've got, those two. Secede.
I live in a state where they send in we fighting for involuntary labor with the prisoners of Angola. They about to start forming.
Wow.
In 88 well, that's not 88 degrees. I think that was the heat index 88, which is not court, but that's what we got in the state of Louisiana.
New York City 1, New York City 2. Okay.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah. And the kids that 16 don't they not permitted lunch breaks.
See, that's again, unless the feds step in and make certain things mandatory. Until now, we have this with privatization. They're not going to be satisfied till somebody fall out. And even then, because we have made mistakes and criminal behavior a character, like, right? So that their personhood is somehow diminished because they did this thing, they did this awful thing and made a mistake or whatever. And I have my own issues with this idea of do not create a society that necessitates criminal behavior so that I can survive. And I'm not justifying whole scale criminal activity, but don't create that society and then blame me for being a criminal when you've created a society with no rehabilitation, your educational system, you're not fully funded. So it's all organic and just sort of tied into. And then when I get my child to higher education, I find out that people don't have higher aspirations for them, unless, of course, they can through running for 40.
Yeah.
Let's
end on some happier news. We gotta focus on the good that's coming out, because if we focus on that, it'll take us out. Have you heard of, let me pronounce this right, Penisol Lewis? You're a resident. No?
Nope.
Detroit. It's in Detroit.
Okay.
Okay. It's the nation's first ever reinstated HBCU, and it came back to life.
When was the last time it was considered an HBCU? I don't recall this on any of my 1990s lists, but okay. I love that for their friend. I love it.
It began a steep decline in enrollment in 2007. It lost its accreditation.
Okay.
It hung on for 8 more years, officially closing in 2015. 2020, Dr. Evans made aware of Lewis College of Business in late 2020 through conversations with Detroit business leaders, the increased interest in diversity from its corporate partners, the idea of reopening HBCU in the only UNESCO City of Design, United States, and one of the largest cities with an African-American population immediately became a goal. 2021, Dr. Dwayne Evers soon became a majority stakeholder in Lewis business. So I guess it's a for-profit, the way you say major stake. On October 2021, he has submitted a certificate to assume the name to certificate of assumed name to the state of Michigan to allow the Lewis College of Business to operate under a new name, Penisol Lewis College of Business and Design. So, yeah. The reason I'm bringing that up, you're going to add them back to your list?
Okay, I'm adding them. I'm writing it down now.
We actually have a new story I don't think we covered in the weeks that's been hanging on. I'm going to go back and dig that up. But Hudson Tillotson has partnered with a school in California, or a system in California. I don't like when they say historically Black, because it means you just a minority serving institution, or you can say a Black serving institution, but you're not historically. But I get it. I'm not, that's semantics. It's semantics. I know. But they are partnering. Hudson Tillotson is partnering with a school in California to serve majority Black students. I don't know if it's Black and brown. Well, we're gonna bring that story back. I'm gonna go dig it out of our archives so that we didn't get to cover.
Okay.
So the reason I brought that history up, because I didn't know, but you the historian on here. I thought you knew, but I saw the name because Penisol Lewis College in Detroit has partnered with the NFL to showcase student artwork during the NFL draft experience. This collaboration highlighted the artistic diversity within Detroit's community and supported the college's mission on inspiring designers. I like this.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we definitely want to focus, and we should always encourage our athletes to experience these things. So I don't know, you're probably way too young to know Bernie Casey. I didn't know him as a player, but he was an artist. So when I first saw him, it was when I was watching Revenge of the Nerds. So full disclosure, this is how old I am.
And he was just like I learned how to pronounce Qatar from Transformers.
Right. So to have these outside interests. And so even though he's a whole nother conversation, but just to say for those who are listening in the contemporary space, that Shiloh Sanders, don't get me started. Shiloh Sanders is a classically trained pianist, right? I wouldn't, mom and dad, I probably wouldn't let my child could do those kind of things on the piano. I probably wouldn't let him play football. But that's just me. So that they have these outside interests beyond the sport. And I think it's great to have this NFL partnership to talk about art and artists, because, you know, even watching a good run on the field is still poetic to me. Like, you have those moments that are like art, but to give them this sort of different view of seeing is amazing. I love it. Yeah. I really do.
It also serves as a model for how educational institutions can collaborate with major organizations to provide students with valuable career-enhancing experiences, which I don't think we're doing that great of a job at all. No. But that's another soapbox for another time.
But that you can, because think about it in ways, if you think about the arts, humanities, but the biology major, right? I've used this before in another speech. The biology major who needs to understand the human form, the artist who needs to understand the human form, those things can collide, right? That you can't draw the body if you don't know what it is.
Yeah.
You don't know how it bends, the fold, the skin, the suppleness of it. And so it's the same thing to understand the beauty of the body for the biology major, particularly those who want to go into medicine, to understand its humanity and not just I'm gonna cut here, that you're dealing with, so we don't do a good job of blending these sort of getting out of the hierarchies. And I think this is a great way to do that. Kudos to them.
I'm excited to see what they're going to bring. My visit to Ringling College in Florida, I loved it because it was so, I don't know, prayers to them because they're trying to not bend to what the state is going on, what's going on in the state. They are, they right across the street was the college, and I can't think of the name, where it was a liberal arts college, but the state did a hostile takeover, fired the board, and so now it's not so liberal. Liberal arts, my mistake. Liberal arts is not so liberal arts-ish. But I love just being there, just their intention of how, just like all the intentionalities of it. And I did see some of us there, some black, some brown, and they were fully aware it wasn't enough diversity there. But I want to see this mirrored in the North. I think it can be that type of business, art, and design school that I saw at Ringling, and hopefully they get more support.
Okay. Yeah. Sounds good.
So we're gonna leave you with some more feel good news. I need to order this book, but Blood at the Root. I am a late Harry Potter graduate. I graduated late. I was I didn't get admitted to Hogwarts, when it first opened. I went later, and now I'm a strong alum.
Yes, I'm in Gryffindor.
But I remember
I have gone.
You do. You do. You're on your way to the board, making the board, the board of directors of Hogwarts.
Yeah.
So I remember this Twitter thread about what if Harry Potter went to an HBCU. It was a few years ago, and I read this article where Ladarian Williams, the creator of Blood at the Root, reimagined Harry Potter. He finally got a book deal.
Yes.
And I can't wait to read it. But as we were preparing, what did you tell me?
Well, before the book deal, you know, as you all know, I am also the director of the Jackson Film Festival. Last week in July is a shameless plug. Get a ticket. But when we were doing in a few years ago, he did a concept film, short film, based on his novel. And sometimes authors do that, writers do that to drum up, you know, here's what it looks like, gives it a visual. It's a really wonderful. Didn't win, but it came in like second. It was like a high second for the Jackson Film Festival. So we are exceptionally proud that we have this connection with him, and hopefully when they make a full film, which I have no reason why they wouldn't, to make this a full cinematic version that we'll see it again. But I'm so excited for him, because you think about being, you know, an author, and you do this film and you've written this wonderful book, and now it's finally getting the recognition that it deserves. So, and since they, you know, as much as I love Harry Potter, and was so happy to see that the one Black student on there got on How to Get Away with Murder. Just it's a good thing to see Black people in magical schools. So
yeah, I hope he gets the Harry Potter budget. He deserves it. But it does, like you say,
a whole other thing.
Yeah. We got some people who can make some things work. Yeah,
I would love that. And I followed him on TikTok, and I've done a couple of lives, and said I was so happy and proud that he's done this, and that it's going this way. Like, he's on the New York Times bestseller list now.
Yes.
So we are, you know, this is a really proud moment, not just for me because of the festival thing, but just to see this type of work in young adult speculative fiction be embraced like this on a mainstream audience. That's just amazing.
Yeah, my mom and my sister read for leisure a lot. I read, like, my books are good to me, but they're like workbooks. I'm reading like energy management and restorative practices. Like, I'm reading those types of things. And I said I wanted to get back into reading fictional books besides Dr. Jackson's books.
Deserving Grace, Finding His Treasure at Amazon or Barnes & Noble. Okay. Good.
Yeah, but I do think diversity. This is going back to diversity. Diversity in the Black literature. I don't want to. I've read my Fly Girl. I've read the whole Church series, Kimberly Roby. I've read all of those.
Right.
I do recognize there's a gap, because I am a sci-fi girl. I am a fantasy girl. And I do have to go back to read. I have a lot of stuff to read. What's the series? It's kind of like like apocalyptic genre. Black.
Well, the one I gave you was the Vampire Hunter series by Ellie Banks.
That was that, but it's another Black woman who writes kind of fantasy, post-world kind of stuff.
You're not talking about Octavia Butler, are you?
Her. I'm trying to get through
Parable of a Sword. Yes.
Yeah, I'm trying to get through all of her series, and so I think this fits right into Black sci-fi piece. I love, Black Panther, and I love all of. I can't wait for Blade to come out. But the reading part, I'm excited, and this is like the first book is like, oh my God, I need to go buy it and read it. So hopefully this will strike up something.
And I think that this highlights the fact that there are writers and authors in this space, but this highlights it once, like if one of us makes it to New York Times bestseller, that they will go further down the road and find, not just the fantasy side, but to know that there's fantasy and sci-fi, speculative, how these different authors are creating these universes and worlds within their own work. Tanner Reeve Dew is a great one in Black sci-fi, speculative, magical realism, all of those things that we're already in, but that if we don't get out, we know that there are gaps in our learning and knowledge about these particular genres. So, I mean, I'm so excited for this book and the movie version that will be coming out and hopefully premiering at the Jackson.
Yes.
Shameless plug.
Well, some people are getting to the money. Well, some schools are getting to the money. It's so odd how Mississippi was about to shut down HBCUs for non-performance, and then the next 3 weeks they're getting about how much, 35 million together.
Yeah, 35 million. So yeah, Alcorn is receiving 8 million, a little over 8 million for repairs and renovation for the gym and all of that. Let's see, Jackson State is getting 23 million for repairs and renovation, because here's the thing, deferred maintenance will kill an institution. And so you've got to do that. And Mississippi Valley has been given about a little under 9 million for a new residence hall, so that's good for them. We go from the chopping block to the allocation stream.
Going back to
again, playing politics.
Black experience.
Right. And again, playing politics.
Tennessee State got a windfall of money, but that only opened the door for an audit. So I'm paranoid. I am paranoid. I admit that. I'm paranoid.
Several audits. Like they had to sit through, they've been combing through the audits 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, keep your books clean. Don't give them nothing. Don't get a devil. What they say, don't give a devil a foothold.
Don't do it. Wait a minute. But the new thing, I love it. Brandon T. Jackson said that when he got into Hollywood, Denzel Washington said, "Oh, we didn't even go to the party, but I always leave 30 minutes before the devil get there."
Yeah. And definitely never go to a Diddy after party, as we've seen.
Cause Diddy gonna do it. But
a lot of people went to Diddy parties, but they ain't go to a Diddy party.
No.
So in the same great state, I didn't realize North Carolina was going to be the theme of this show today.
Okay. Well, thank you.
So while UNC is taking away diversity on the other side, North Carolina HBCUs are set to benefit from gambling losses, which is a very unexpected source, but I think it's, the funding will provide financial support and assisting institutions in various developmental projects, scholarships, community outreach. This is really good. I wasn't thinking about gambling losses as a source of revenue. I always was on the lookout to see what states are going to do with their newfound marijuana money.
Yeah.
To see if they can prop up education, higher education, and K-12 education. But hey, money's money, right?
They've always used the gambling. The state of Mississippi, when they started with having casinos on boat, the boat, as we like to call it.
Do y'all got water? Do boats go in the water?
Vicksburg is they're on the water.
Like docked at the water, though.
Yeah, they're docked. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, of course, stationary docked kind of stuff. It's not like they flying away, sailing away. Sail on. But those, I remember even as a child, the conversation was, we're going to bring in gambling and that's going to fully fund education. We're going to use it.
Yeah, I ain't seen that money yet, huh?
No. So I'm glad North Carolina is using their gambling losses and sport. So now to be okay. So casino, sports betting, marijuana money. These are some revenue streams that could really help the state. But let's see how they use them. And unless they don't funnel it to a volleyball stadium at USM.
Yep.
Just
yep. So our last good feel good story that we're ending on. I don't even like baseball like that. You know, I didn't even know the acronyms to it. The last story we covered.
MLB.
But I did recognize the significance in this. The Negro League stats will be recognized by the MLB. Long overdue recognition. I hope. I don't know. I don't know if I read somewhere where some of the Negro Leagues were going to be kind of reinvigorated. Did you hear that?
No, I didn't hear that part, but I'm happy to know that Josh Gibson is going to be given his rightful place, and I think he beat Ty Cobb in the stat sheet.
Okay.
I think that they should, but also this is just This is, as one gentleman said, this is sort of reparations for these Negro Leagues, these Negro Leaguers, who should have been included long time ago. But hey, we are happy about that. It is long overdue.
Yeah.
And to know that their stats and to have their stats honored, not in name, but like the lists are now changing. You have to put Ty Cobb is not at the top of that list. But he was never at the top of that list for real, right? So this is not something that we're taking from him. We are actually giving to those players who earn those stats.
Yeah.
So I'm happy about that.
That's really good. So that's all we have. It was we see we can't take a week off. It's hard to get through the. It was all good. We still have another show that's left on our show notes that we're gonna do next time.
Yeah,
but I wanted to.
You got one more. You got one more.
We're gonna have that's a big one.
That's a big one. The twins.
That's a big one.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure something else is gonna happen in between time that we're gonna have to combine it together. But I wanted to close off with last reflections or rants. What did you have? So we can leave with all hearts, minds clear.
I think I ran all the way through. But I do. I think I ran all the way through. But I think my last bit of reflection is that I want parents, you're celebrating your high school students, the graduations, or you have juniors who are starting to look at colleges because they're entering their senior years, that you look at the nuts and bolts, not just the paperwork they send you, but that you go to their websites and you think critically about the images, look at the numbers for real that they're not going to talk about. They have to publish a fact book. If you don't have the fact book and you can't see those kinds of things, I think this is the time that you really take a deep dive into it. If you want your students to be successful and to finish and to complete this journey of their education, you have to do that, because you need to go full disclosure. You don't want them calling you in September and go, I don't have any friends here, because it's part of the education experience that they learn. I really want parents to start to do more of a deep dive into where they want to send their children. If you're going to send them there, I think that's, for me right now, that's what I want people to understand. Celebrate those graduations, but don't send them into the Bulls Den,
Yeah. I think one thing that has been heavy, and I have to figure out how to get it out, make it useful. My besides STEM, my background has always been in teaching, learning, and motivation, and figuring out just how humans do things, how they succeed, how they learn, how they behave. That's always been my thing, and I've applied it to higher ed. But my soapbox I was always on, even before we got to this point, was that you wouldn't have so much of a problem. This is to HBCUs and PWIs if you institutionalize good practices. And so many of the diversity things that we've just take tutoring. Tutoring has always been a poor Black unprepared thing. When I've seen other students of other colors suffer the same, it's not even a color thing, it's about how kids are entering into college. And I think that's where some of the diversity initiatives go wrong, because they always push this thing like, oh, the first gen or the Black students are unprepared, so let's just give them tutoring and give them, like, that's not what you're taking these diverse initiatives and you're diluting them, because you're not even thinking about what each individual student need. You're not building out these programs based on what students need. You're forcing them to go through, not saying every diversity program is bad, but when sometimes I would go to institution or read about it or learn about it, their tutoring center is like, oh, if a Black student is having, or talking, in fact, if a Black student is having a problem, they say, oh, go to tutoring, you need tutoring. No, I need you to see me like a person, answer my question, not just blow me off. That's not that. So what's been heavy on my mind is, can we create a white paper or a document with things, if you institutionalize these things and make them accessible to all, and not just say, hey, you're failing, go to tutoring. Hey, something wrong with you, I don't have time, you go to, like, if you actually put in good practices. And we did this when we worked together. One of the things I did for first year experiences, I made, this is what we expect of all students. I don't care who you are. You're going to spend 15 hours a week studying. That's the standard. You don't know how to spend those 15 weeks? We got something for you. 15 hours, we got something for you. Everybody, I don't care who you are, athletics, band, you have to do some community service. You have to do something in first year experience. You have to do this. Like, if you institutionalize, this is what we need for you to succeed. You need to have a career development experience every year. This is not just for high talented students. Everybody needs to be engaged and challenged. It's not just for honors college. Honors college, they need tutors too. That some brilliant students may have a very difficult way of learning or tailoring their learning style to. So if we make these best practices for everybody, you won't need diverse experience, because you're going to catch them all where everybody's going to have it. And we won't even need to have this discussion. So while they're funneling all this money in student success, I'm afraid it's going to be more of the same. It's going to be more of, I don't know, what's more of whatever's in, all of those best practices they have now, whatever's the trend in student success, whatever the hottest technology is, they're going to throw this money. But if we get back to the basics of things and just treat humans and recognize the basic needs of everybody, regardless of color, creed, whatever, that's going to be embedded equity, that you don't have to put in a flashy statement or make these big brash things. It's going to be truly student centered, because you're building it from a student's point of view and you're institutionalizing it for everybody. I'm not going to feel bad to go to tutoring because my university just put it on Front Street that we expect excellence comes from getting help. If you seek resources out, the most successful people, students here, seek resources. Here are your resources. We expect you to do it. We're going to follow and track you to see if you're doing it. But I'm not going to say, well, I don't need it. I'm, nothing's wrong with me. I'm not going to tutoring, or I don't need a mentor. No, everybody needs a mentor. That's just the way human
Exactly.
beings are motivated. Like if we go back to the basics that Maslow's hierarchy and really put some practical programming in,
Mm-hmm.
we would actually be doing diversity work with actually doing it, because everybody's going to have their needs met, whether you're a rural white male, whether you're a smart black kid, whether you are like, if you came from money and you don't know how to act, whether you came from poor and you don't, everybody's going to have whatever they need if we do student success and really be a student-centered campus,
Right.
and not talk about it.
Yeah. I mean, it's so funny when you mention even the honor students, because sometimes if honor students are supposed to know it all, they don't know how to ask for help.
No, and they're the ones that need. I was the honors, but I was top. I was the most stubborn person. It took me years to go to tutoring after I failed Kim, but that was the thing. I didn't have people to look like me, or I felt intimidated by getting tutoring from my white male counterparts, because they're on their phone and, well, just do that, or just you just go. Like, I'm coming to you for. I literally had to skip my physics class to go to who happened to be one of the only black male STEM professors. He was physics. He happened to be an Omega, so he was frat too. I used to skip the class, go to his office and say, hey, I don't get this. He explained it to me in 10 minutes. I went and did my homework. Going to class was a waste of time because the professor was, well, I won't say what he was, but I'll give you what he said. Oh, we'll see. Let's see what pansies turn in their homework today. The horror on your face, almost like when you saw that plate that time. Yes, so that's what I had to deal with, and that's why I fight so hard. That's why I was a tutor. Like I used to tutor, the football players, and it was basic biology. But once I explained to him, hey, you have to, there's a club, you got the security guard, some people bounce out, bounce in. That's the way I explain some parts of a cell process. He was like, I ain't never get that until now. Like, it wasn't just me. I understood him. We talked for 5 minutes. What you do, what you like, what you listen to, 5 minutes. All right, let me figure out a way to meet you where you bring you to where you need to be. If we do that as a university, our retention, enrollment, and graduation rates would be through the roof. But we don't want to do the human thing. We want to do the assembly line thing.
But we also have to be honest. There are some institutions that don't care if some students graduate or not.
Oh yeah. And I'm going to speak for a lot of higher ed institutions don't care, because they've been so used to that number. Oh yeah, we're expecting, like, that's language of enrollment management. We're going to melt. We're going to melt to 60%, or we're going to melt to 75%. It's a fact. They don't even ask why these students left. It's already like, oh, I mean, students don't really stay here anyway.
And even if they tell them why, they don't act on it.
Nope.
So,
nope.
But we have to I think for both of us, I mean, we have to really be cognizant and conscious of how we make these selections, how we make these choices, what are the policies and the practices of said policy. And then on top of that, have a conversation. I mean, have some real hard conversations in higher ed leadership about students and what you want. If you don't want them here, just say that. If you don't want that, but don't take their federal dollars, don't take their loans, and then you set them up to fail.
It's just so unethical to me to see admissions factories. You admit, you take their money, don't support them, don't have nothing, don't care. Like it's
We do them a disservice and
and you
ourselves.
and you send hurt people out into the world. Their ego is hurt, their self-esteem is hurt,
Yeah,
everything's hurt. Then you
yeah.
then you expect them to be a functional workplace person.
It doesn't happen.
Finances are jacked up, everything's hurt. And you just be like, oh, okay, well, he didn't make it. He wasn't cut out for higher ed. He wasn't cut out for college. He wasn't prepared.
Exactly. So no, I think, yeah, you're absolutely right. Let's do better about our policies and our practices.
Yeah.
And y'all look at the fact.
One day we're gonna get our parent university up, and we're gonna
Yes,
we're gonna bring that to universities. Yes, I've been trying to get that up for like 10 years. Don't nobody take it. We recorded it, and there's a date on here. So if y'all do it, take y'all a small claims court. Well, this is probably one of our longer episodes. We try to, we know y'all got to be in and out, but thank y'all. Our numbers are going up. Continue to share this, continue to like, subscribe. Thank you to all of our international people who are listening. Send us a little note. Let us know what's going on in your part of the world. We still want to discuss it. And let us know what you think. We're ready to hear some feedback from our listeners on YouTube, Spotify. I think Apple and Spotify are our two top places. And our age demographics are expanding. So we got a little bit more of those mid-career people watching. And then I think we might be gaining some steam on our grads and young leaders, higher ed leaders. So thank you all. If you are in the New Orleans area, are in Louisiana, Baton Rouge area, if you're flying into Essence, come a little bit early. We're hosting a Black Higher Ed meetup. We want to see whoever's watching. Bring your higher ed friends. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun because we're always being serious. We're never really together having fun. So it's going to be fun. And it's going to, hopefully we can make some great collaborations, you can network, you can find some new jobs, some good research partners, whatever, some good grant funding, whatever you need. It's going to be in the house.
A place to vent if you want to. Yeah. Place
to vent. Yes. So that's July 3rd, 5 to 8. Go to Eventbrite. You can search Black Higher Ed Meetup. We'll be releasing locations soon. But we're really preparing to have a good time. Small bites, drinks, fun, good people, good music. I think we're gonna do it a little 90s R&B. Maybe a little. We'll take it a little back to 85-ish. 85, early 90s.
Look cameo.
Yeah. No. Nobody named Sexy Red will be played. You might get a one Meg the Stallion because I like her. One Cardi. Nobody who was born in what's the cutoff? Nobody who was born in the 2000s.
Nobody. If they were born in 2000s, no.
Yeah, we can't. We want the grad students and young students to come. Grad students, I know we might be discriminating. Come on. Yeah. It won't be a bunch of old folks, but we want you to come. We just gonna give you a warning. It's gonna be 90s hip hop R&B will be the jam for the tone for the evening. But we're looking forward to it. We'll post it on our Instagram. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on YouTube if you're not. Just help us get some YouTube money, some sponsorships. I can't wait to read a sponsored ad in between. That's my goal, is to be able to read something to advertise to you all. Because Dr. Jackson is a higher ed fugitive. She has to pay her mortgage.
I do. I do.
So yes, like and subscribe. We need your numbers. We want to hear your feedback. We want to make the show better. Let us know. And until next time, we are fastly approaching our episode 10. We're gonna celebrate somehow, a little cupcake.
Yeah.
Because we've been consistent. We've been ready. Yeah, this came at a perfect time. Rain, Dr. Jackson traveled in the rain to come and record. Yes. Yeah. We doing this thing, and we promise to be consistent, and we've been doing it. So thank you all for listening. And until next time, take care.
Bye-bye.